Okay, so let's start this Hangout. So hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. I'm Charles, co-founder of Snipcart. I'm with Anna, Craft developer, who managed to do a cool project with Snipcart and Craft. So today the main scope of the Hangout will be to let Anna show us how to integrate Snipcart within a Craft application. So during the demo, you can ask questions using the Q&A feature, and we try to answer them as we do the demo. So I'm leaving the control to Anna that will share a screen and tell us a little bit more about that. Thank you.
Okay, hi everybody. So the background quickly on this Hangout is that someone posted something on Twitter the other day asking for maybe info about e-commerce or maybe specifically about craft. But I screen shared and demoed my project that I built last fall, and I thought other people might be interested in seeing how craft and Snipcart work together. It was pretty seamless for my project, so it may not fit for every project, but it worked for this one. And I always like to see how third-party tools integrate, so thought I'd share it with everybody. Okay, so let me figure out how to share my screen here. Okay, great. So this project is called sackware.com, and it's a company here in Albuquerque. It's actually one of my probably my first client that I built a site on with Expression Engine, or one of. This site has been redone a couple times, and this last redo this fall we changed the e-commerce software also as part of the redesign. So we used to use OS Commerce, and we used it for probably 9 years on the site, and it worked fine, but it was pretty clunky and the UI was terrible, and we were just looking for something different. So I wanted to build the site in Craft, and there's not really a first party or even a plugin tool for e-commerce, so I had to look at third party. And the design dictated that the products landed on the homepage, so I really needed to figure out a way to build this with a tool that I could integrate into Craft, not putting the store off on a subdomain. So I don't know how many I researched, but I ultimately came to Snipcart, and I think I found it because they had actually put together a plugin or an add-on that connected with Craft, sort of on their own doing, and so I took a look at that, and that got me to their product. So anyway, it worked out quite well. So let me show you how it's integrated just from a user's perspective.
Sorry, I'm just interrupting you a little. We just realized that we forgot to enable the QA in the Hangout, so I invite people to ask questions through Twitter instead of using the Q&A feature, and we will, yes, tweeting at Snipcart.
Thanks.
Sounds good. Okay, so this is a product detail page. There's sort of two ways Snipcart is integrated. One is the sort of checkout calculator following the total items and the total amount, and then the product buy button, which in my case is found after you select two options there. So Snipcart is a third-party tool that you're integrating using JavaScript, and you're pushing the data to their cart, essentially. So let me just show you what that does, and that's pushed into an overlay. And this is what it looks like, and you go through the checkout process. So pretty straightforward there. From a user's perspective, I thought. Their cart then, or excuse me, their dashboard is at snipcart.com/dashboard, and there's not a ton of options here, but you can see general orders, info about customers, and then you can set up countries, shipping carriers, tax, and some general appearance settings here. The other thing that they offer is webhooks, and their add-on that they built specifically, I'm pretty sure it was doing inventory reduction, and so there was a webhook that connected back to Craft to do some inventory reduction. Let's see. You can enable your payment gateway and see some history there also. So not a ton of options here, but there doesn't really need to be. The basics are there. So let me just show you guys the code real quick. I tried to make this as large as possible. Let's see. All right, so CSS is integrated just here. Pretty straightforward, and any of their CSS can be overridden in your style sheet. So any colors, just anything related to this overlay can be overwritten or hidden. In my project, I had to hide a couple things, really specific to my project, though. Let's see, and then their JavaScript is in the footer. And you're putting in an API key here that's really specific to your project. Let's see. Okay. All right, so Snipcart checkout then is just this little snip of code, and that's what's creating this area. So their JavaScript is pushing how many items are in the cart and the total, the cart total, and it's using just some specific tags that they provide. And then, so that's one of the integrations. And then in the product entry, you're essentially pushing data to them this way. So all of the product data exists in Craft, including inventory numbers if you're going to run things that way. But all of the product-specific data, including images, price, sale price, whatever, weight, is all handled within Craft. So let me show you what that looks like. All right, so I had a specific requirement that I had to have inventory specific to color and size. So I adjusted how their default Craft plugin worked so that I could actually have my inventory set up this way within this table field. But there's a price, sale price, specific inventory, grid, whether it's women's, men's, or kids, the image, and the just quick description. So ultimately, the data associated with your project can be whatever you need here. And then you're just pushing that data to their cart. So in Craft, since I have, well, for this project, I have very specific inventory, as I said, large, navy, on another shirt. Let's see, let's get one that has a couple colors. Probably it might be size more than anything here. Yeah, okay, whatever. So size is probably the limiter here. And what I did was, in my code, I created as many buy buttons as I needed for my different variations. And then I just hide those using jQuery based on the selections here. So if you look at my source code here, so you'll see that I do have buttons for all the different variations. And I'm sending the size, color. I'm also sending some IDs. I'm sending specifically the table ID probably, I can't remember the details here, but and then the specific variation ID. So that's navy medium, so it knows where to reduce inventory when the order is completed. So one thing I had to build into this process here of selecting different products was a check against inventory. So let me see if I can find something that doesn't have inventory. So I have a number of sort of essentially errors or messages. One is just this initial message. If there's no inventory, well, of course everything's okay. There we go. So if there's no inventory, then it's just going to push an out of stock message and not allow the checkout. I think I said earlier that I had to hide some things within this overlay. One of the things I hid was the ability to update quantity within the overlay. And I did that because because of the way I'm handling inventory, there's just no way I can, well, no way that I found that I can control doing a check against the actual inventory within this overlay. So I set it up so that they have to add product only from this area, or that they can. And let's see, I don't think there's too much else. Based on the project that my project requirements, I had to, and specifically that inventory table, I was doing some sort of creative things in Craft here just to get my unique list of sizes and colors. Couple people on Twitter helped me with that. Thanks, guys. We're doing some upcharge here. So if it's in 2XL, we're adding a couple dollars. Here's my list of error messages here. So you can see that really technically everything, for the most part, besides the actual cart portion of the checkout process, is happening within Craft. So Snipcart essentially exists as the checkout process, which is pretty cool. So I just feel like it's a pretty good option for basic sites like this. So any questions? It's very odd to not hear other people talking.
Yeah, actually, we just got a question on Twitter about how do we at Snipcart manage the fact that people could alter the HTML, like modifying the data item price value using like Chrome developer tools or things like that. Actually, when we do the checkout, the last step is that we crawl back the application and make sure that the price has not been modified. Actually, when you define a product in Snipcart, you have to define the attribute data-item-URL, where you need to input a URL that will map to your website where we will find the buy button. This is explained in our documentation, so I will just send a link over Twitter after the Hangout.
Okay. And I'm on the documentation. So how to set up that buy button basically is, all the instructions are here under product definition. And there's lots of options. I'm passing some custom data also. I showed this, but let me show it again. I don't know how many total fields there are, but I can send custom data and give it a custom name as I need to. So in this case, let's see, my SKU is what I'm using as my item ID here because it's the ID that is unique. Oh, excuse me there. But I need to know the entry ID in order to do my inventory reduction once the order is complete. So I'm also passing that as a hidden variable. And that's something else I'm hiding on this overlay also. Let me just see. Oh, it might be under here. I don't remember where it is, but anything that's hidden here. Yeah, well, this is something I hid. So this is the plus and minus for changing that quantity. But anything in this overlay you can target as the developer and adjust sort of to fit your project requirements, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, and you can even now use. We just introduced a new attribute. You can, when you define a custom field, you can say data dash custom dash type and use hidden. So you.
Oh, perfect.
To hide it. I would like to just say that Brendan, the creator of Craft, has just joined us with in the call. So if you have any Craft-related questions, Brendan will be available to answer them.
Okay, I'm gonna just show one more quick thing too. So, as I said, there is a inventory reduction occurring once the order is complete, and this is happening through a plugin. And let's get to the core code of that. So it's just doing an update of the item quantity. And this is using their webhook. And Charles, I'll let you explain how that works a little, if you'd like. How the webhooks work.
Yes, yes. Sorry, I was just looking at Twitter, and we got some other questions, so I would just answer them before continuing with the webhooks.
Okay.
Actually, someone wants to know if we can use jQuery to set the number of amount of items in the cart before checkout. Actually, we have a complete JavaScript API that you can add items using the GS API directly. So I think that it should be used instead of using jQuery directly, but I know it is possible using the API.
Is that here with item.add?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I'm highlighting that. So the API reference guide is here down the left. There's events, public messages, or methods, etc., etc. I don't know that I might have used this a little bit. Let me see. I can't remember the details there.
While you're looking at the code, I will answer the next question from
Okay.
Andrea that wants to know if we can, if Snipcart can be localized. And yes, actually it is. Our locals are stored in GitHub. They are open source, so people can contribute and add new languages. And we only rely on the line attribute that you can set in the HTML tag in the beginning of any HTML page. So Snipcart is already translated in, I think, about 10 languages.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I'm on that page in the JavaScript API also, the localization page.
Yeah, and you can, if you want, like, you can override any text that appears in the card. So if you want to use your own wording, you can change like anything.
Yeah, I want to show this little snippet of code. So one thing specific to my project was that we use USPS for shipping, but we only use specific methods for that. So let's see, these are the methods that we use. So with their JavaScript API, I can set those specific methods, which is really nice. This is something Charles added specific to my project needs.
Yeah.
Which I have to say is one of the reasons actually I enjoyed working with Snipcart is you guys are young and interested in feedback based on people's projects. So I appreciated quick attention to things that were missing. So thank you, Charles.
Cool. Nice to hear. Thank you. And actually, we will very soon add the option to manage choose which options you want to use with the shipping carrier directly in the dashboard, so you won't have to set to use this method if you define it in the dashboard. I think it would be a little bit easier.
Yeah, this was easy for the developer.
Yeah. And we were talking about webhooks. So basically,
Yeah.
webhooks are a way to integrate Snipcart deeper into your application. Actually, when some events occur in Snipcart, we can make HTTP calls to your application directly and send a request with a JSON body. So with all the data that you receive, you can then adjust the inventory or integrate with the ERP or things like that. So Snipcart is cool with small projects, but it can be very powerful and used for bigger projects that use like big ERPs in the backend, inventory management that are complex or anything.
I'm showing that page now on your docs. I didn't get too deep into this, and really what I used was code that had already, I guess the inventory reduction code that you guys had written, and then I just adjusted it to, sorry, my phone's gonna ring.
No problem.
So I just adjusted it to the columns that where my data was stored, my quantity data.
Yeah,
For the
that's
most part, I used what you used.
yeah. That I will say that it's the most common use case that people are doing with the webhooks, but we have bigger customers that are doing pretty cool things with it.
Nice. The other thing too I have here is somebody developed a Snipcart plugin that is pulling orders into Craft. So I'll show you this also. So it pulls orders, customers, and discounts, and pretty basic data, but it could be extended to do pretty much anything, I would assume.
Yeah, actually, with our API, you could do a complete dashboard on your own if you will be willing to.
So this honestly, this might have already, this app or plugin might have been updated since I set this project up. I haven't gone back to see what else they've added.
Yeah, the plugin actually is maintained by Matt Steen, who is another Craft developer who made one or two projects with the Craft and Snipchart, and he decided to do the plugin. It's fully open source on GitHub, so people can contribute if they want to.
Perfect. Yeah, it worked well. I actually don't know if my client looks here or if they look in your dashboard, but the info's in both places.
Yeah, and Brandon, I had a question for you. I would like to know what's the current feedback about the Craft community with regarding e-commerce.
The feedback? Do you mean?
Yeah, do you have any like feedback about e-commerce using Craft?
We've got lots of sites that have done some pretty cool stuff. Anna's site here is one of them, using Snipcart. I think Snipcart's been very popular amongst the Craft community. And then there's some other plugins that are pretty lightweight that kind of integrate directly with Stripe and stuff like that. And they're doing some pretty cool stuff too. Other heavyweight e-commerce sites are doing basically 100% custom development, just integration with Stripe, and Stripe makes that stuff so easy that if you've got a little bit of PHP chops, there's really no reason not to investigate that route. I think we're waiting on some of the more full-featured plugins to pop their heads out as far as e-commerce is concerned, and I'm not entirely sure what their status is, but we're looking forward to those as well. But there's a lot of cool stuff going on e-commerce. Snipcart's definitely, as far as like we've been able to tell, probably one of the more popular options people are doing today.
Yeah, from an ease of use perspective, it was like very straightforward to integrate, really. And when I looked at other options, third-party options, they just all had their reasons why they wouldn't work. And I mean, I'm sure I could have muscled things to work, but I didn't really want to do that. So it was easy for me as a developer.
Anna, could you stop the screen share because we don't
Yeah.
see anything else on it. Your screen is black.
Oh, I thought I did. Yeah, I think it's stopped.
Okay, maybe it's just the camera that is not online.
Oh, could be.
Yeah, so we have a few other questions on Twitter. Doug is asking, can you manage multiple craft sites in one Snipcart interface? Actually, you could, because in Snipcart you can define a number of allowed domains, because when you're setting up your Snipcart account, you have to decide which domain you will be available to use Snipcart on. So you can define as many domains as you need. The only thing is that the value in data-item-URL needs to be an absolute URL. And another question is, can you fully style the model card? Yes, you can. We actually have a few posts about it on our blog, but it's basically only an overlay over the website, and using CSS you can do pretty much anything you want. We even have some customers that did a brand new style sheet without even using ours, so you could not believe that it's Snipcart on their website, but it's using our backend.
Are you able to show any of those to us so we can see the difference?
Yeah, I will. That's a nice idea. I will just...
I have no idea why my video isn't working, but you guys have my voice.
So this customer really they did not use our style sheet. They just built something from scratch, and this is Snipcart. So it's pretty cool to see people using it and to do things like that. It's like pushing it to the extreme. We want to make some themes or things like that in the future, but this one is a very good example of what you can do with Snipcart. Literally every step is styled differently, and it's pretty cool. And we have other customers like this one that really modify the colors, everything, to make it really match the style of their website. You see that they kept the basic style of Snipcart, but with the colors and everything, it really integrates well with their application.
Yeah, that looks great. Can hey, if anybody listening has a Snipcart project, will you post the URL so we can take a look at what you guys did?
Yeah, we'll have to wait for people on Twitter to tweet because we don't have the Q&A enabled. Sorry for that, guys.
No problem. Well, what else can I show you guys? I think...
Yeah, actually, I think it covers most of the Craft and Snipcart integration.
Yeah, it's very quick. I mean, that's the beauty of it. That's what I enjoyed, actually.
Yeah, that's why we built Snipcart in the first place. Actually, we work at the web development agency, and we often had the problem of a customer with not a high budget and an existing website, and they wanted to sell their products online. So we were proposing them like a complete rebuild their website, but it was too expensive, so we got the idea of Snipcart.
Right, and it's it's essentially what PayPal sort of started with their their buttons that you can integrate, but they never took it very far, and so this takes it to a whole other place.
Yeah. Oh, so another question on Twitter: where do you manage design trend and design of the emails that we send, like the invoice and things like that? Actually, the invoice that we built is very standard. You cannot manage the whole design of the email, but you can integrate your logo if you need to, and a custom text in the footer of the email. So if you have any things that you want to tell your customers when they receive their invoice, you can add it to through our dashboard.
I'm going to see if I can find the test emails from my setup so you can see what that looks like.
So while you're opening it, I will answer some other questions.
Yeah.
So do you have the ability to sell subscription, recurring payments? Actually, we are working on this at the moment. Should be available in the next weeks. The feature is going quite well, and I think end of February it will be ready for a beta or maybe a general availability. Yeah, so Anna, did you find the invoice or?
Yeah, let me pull that up. One sec. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a test. Let me just make it a little smaller. So this is from September, so you might have adjusted this a little bit. But in general, this is what it looked like.
Yeah,
And
as you can see, you can include the logo, and you could also input the custom text that will be shown under the table, the items table here. Yes, right here.
down here.
Yes.
And I probably didn't put anything in there, so.
Yes, so another question on Twitter. So has there ever been any downtime with the API? Actually, we got one downtime about 2 months ago. It's because our application is hosted on Windows Azure, and they went globally down for about 3 hours. So every website applications on Azure were down this night, but we did not ever had any other downtimes. And since then, we made sure to that Snipcart is available in multiple regions. We have a fallback and things like that. So I feel confident to say that it's very reliable.
Yeah, my client hasn't noticed any problems at all like that.
Cool.
So if there was downtime, we didn't notice.
Yeah, it happened like 2 months ago, I think, and I remember.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. I don't know why my camera doesn't come on back on, but
Yeah, it was working like a few minutes ago.
yeah. Then I screen share. When I come out of screen share, it doesn't work. Anyway.
Yes. Yeah, and one last thing, we will post a blog post after the Hangout that will talk about the important things that we spoke in this Hangout, and more information about Craft and Snipcart resources.
Okay. And if anybody wants to see any code again, let me know and I'll show code.
Cool, perfect. So we don't have any other questions on Twitter, and so feel free to ask them after the Hangout.
Yep.
And we will reply to everyone. That was Francois, our content marketing guy that is with me.
Yeah. Hey, I have a question for you guys. What are your plans for the coming year with this product?
Yeah, actually, we are working at the moment on recurring payments. After that, we want to make something to handle digital goods, delivery, and everything, make it easier for people that don't want to use webhooks and things like that. Yes, we want to rebuild the dashboard from scratch, make something more flat, more responsive. And the website also, we want to refresh it a little. Other things are like small enhancement, making the API for the cart maybe a little better to allow doing like other clients, maybe having a full page checkout, things like that. We want to make things. We have a lot of things in our roadmap. Yeah, Anna, a question for you on Twitter. Was there anything you were unable to do or surprised during the development of the shop?
I think I was able to accomplish everything I needed to do for this specific project with your help, Charles. So a couple times I had to email support and say, hey, how do you do this? And there wasn't a way, but you were very responsive, and I can't tell you how appreciative I am for that. So one of those examples is the shipping. When I started the project and was working on it, I could enable USPS for shipping, but I couldn't either enable or disable specific methods. So I was using this sort of creative way of doing it where I was hiding the methods I didn't want with CSS, but that ultimately just wasn't a good option. So Charles, probably within a week, had added that functionality to the JavaScript API where I could specifically enable the methods that I wanted for shipping. So that was great, and I know there's some other things that I ran up against, but everything I was able to solve. For me, the sort of maybe the more complicated thing was getting this combo of product variation working with inventory check just in the code on this page. So it was less about what Snipcart was doing and more about making sure that I wasn't setting up the website to sell products that they didn't have. So I think there's probably a little room for error still, but for the most part, I feel like I was able to accomplish that.
Cool, cool, nice to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys, Brandon or Anna, had any other questions or things to talk about.
I don't know. I feel like I'm just talking to myself over here, so that's very hard for me. I don't have anything else to add unless people have questions. But I would, except to say, if anybody does want to screen share and look at code more in more depth, I'm happy to do that. So just let me know.
Perfect. So thanks a lot, everybody. So as I said, if anyone has other questions, feel free to poke us on Twitter, and we will chat with you guys. Cool. So thank you, everyone, for being here.
Oh, there it is. Back.
Working.
Thanks, Anna.
Yeah, thanks, Anna.
You're very welcome. Wonderful to meet you, Charles.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, Brandon.
Same here.
Thanks a lot, guys. This was fun.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon. Yeah, so goodbye, everyone.